We're nearing the end of 1 year, which means we get ready for the next year's W2RC. Let's talk about the Dakar Rally. And we'll start off with the route. We will see a total of 13 stages of competitive action, which does include a prologue, which is going to be the only time, I believe, in the W2RC this year that we will see a prologue stage. The W2RC, aside from the Dakar, is shortening it so it could all be done within a week. However, the Dakar is being done over 2. So we will have the base at Yanbu. That is where the Dakar will start. It is also the start and end points for the prologue and the first stage. And then the second test will go from Yanbu to Alula. Then we'll have a stage around Alula before we go on to the marathon. Stages 4 and 5 will be the marathon between Alula and Hail. Before stage 6 will take the competitors to Riyadh, where you'll have the rest day on the 10th of January. From there they'll go to Wadi Adwazir. There'll be a stage around Adwazir, then a further marathon test between Wadi Adwazir and Bisha. After that it will be on to Al Henikaya, then back to Yanbu, and then the final stage will be a Yanbu to Yanbu test. Now, as for the competitors, we'll start off with the bikes, and we'll start off as they are seeded. Daniel Sanders will be the top seed. He went largely unbeaten last year in the W2RC. Then after that, you'll have Bradley Cox, Ricky Brybeck, Skylar Howes, Nacho Ganajo, Michael Doherty, Lorenzo Santolino, Tony Mulek, Dusan Durai, and Harith Noah. If we go further down the list, because some drivers have particular numbers, number 42 is Adrian van Beveren, number 46 is Ross Branch, Tosha Sharena will be under number 68, Edgar Canet 73, Luciano Benavides number 77, Tobias Ebster number 96. And there are a host of other entries on here. I think there are 100 bikes, but if you want to have a look on the Dakar site, you'll see all of the other names. I mean, all the way down to the tail end, you see the likes of someone like Stefan Zvitko, who's considered a Dakar legend. And you can have a look at the people who are in original by Motul, which follows the original spirit of the Dakar Rally. They're not going with a crew or a team. Some people are legends of the Dakar who are doing that. Some people are rookies and decide to give themselves the ultimate challenge. Meanwhile, in the Rally 2 class, Doherty is one of them that's going to be in the Rally 2 class. And likewise is Ebster. As for the cars, we'll start off with the T1s and T1 Pluses. Yazid Al Raji will be the 201 reigning Dakar champion, the first Dakar champion from Saudi Arabia. Then we have some of the Toyotas led by the Works team. So Henk Lattigan, Sef Quintero, Toby Price, 202, 203, 204. After that, we have the Gottsals and Eric Gottschall. They've all been known for their runs in the likes of the Challenger class before, but Szymon Gospodarczyk is going to be co-driving for Eric, the youngest, 21 years old, and he's got the European Rally Champion co-driver alongside him. Then going further through the list, you've got the likes of Jean-Luc Cisaldi, who's got Pascal Delacour alongside. You've got the Bodes, so Lionel and Lucy. If we look at 212, we have first of the Sand Riders, Cristina Gutierrez. And then I'm going to end up just picking out some different names that you might recognise as well from previous editions. So Variawa is 213, Matthew Serodori 214, Denis Krotov is in 217, I believe. Is that the first of the M Sport Fords? Then you've got Guy Bottrell 218, 219, Sebastian Loeb. Unsurprisingly, he gets number 19. 221, Martin Prokop, who I believe is switching across to one of the M Sport Raptors for 2026. Then Guillaume de Mevieux is the next one. He is the first of the minis, I believe. And Mathieu Baumel is going to be alongside him. Baumel was horrifically injured in a road traffic collision last year on the way to the Classic Monte Carlo. And it's good to see that he's managed to make a recovery and that he'll be at the Dakar. Mirage. Lucas Mirage is 223 and Brian Baraguanov is 224. And then you have the Ford Works drivers who will be doing the full W2RC, I believe, next up. So Carlos Sainz, Matthias Ekstrom, Nani Roma, and Mitch Guthrie. Further down, Angel Ferreira is in the number 240. Sheikh Khaled Al Qasimi, you might know from years gone by in the Dakar, is entry number 239 in a Hilux. And then if we keep going down, see Laia Sanz here, Romain Dumas is also here. Isidre Esteve from the former bikes category is also competing here. Nasser Al-Attiyah is the number 299. He's decided to go for the 299, and that is, I guess, because he's no longer the world champion. And from there, let's have a look at the other car classes. The first line of the Challenger class is quite familiar if you were following W2RC last year. Nico Cavaglasio and Velen Pettegrini, the husband and wife team who are the W2RC champions, so the number 300. They also won the Dakar. Daniel Kiel is next, and Puk Klaassen, who ended up picking up a scratch last time out in Rally du Maroc. Kez Koulen and Yassir Seydan. When we go further down the order, you'll see some people who you will also recognise if you think of the likes of Cavaglasio from the quad bikes, like Alexander Giroud. No quad bikes in the Dakar this year. I think last year was the last edition to feature them. And then if we go further down, you've got Ignacio Casale, you've got Abdulaziz Al-Kawari, who you'll recognise from some WRC appearances. Bruno Sabi is going to be there. Pau Navarro, Kevin Benavides, I believe, after having picked up the injuries he has on the bikes, has switched across to the Challenger class. The SSVs is led by Alexandra Pinto, again, somebody else who's had a similar kind of reputation with the quads. Brock Higgers after that, then Chaleco Lopez and Manuel Andujar, both, again, people who we know from quads or bikes in the case of Chaleco. Javier de Soltrite is also entered again as the 407. And then as we keep scrolling down the list, number 420 is Johan Kristoffersen with Olaf Flern alongside Olaf Flern, former co-driver for Andreas Mikkelsen. Johan Kristoffersen, one of the winningest drivers in all of FIA World Motorsport. After that, in the 500s, we have the production cars. And 3 of them are going to be people who will grab headlines for you. Those are the 3 Defenders, because Defender, the spin-off brand from Land Rover, part of the whole thing that's led to that new Jaguar fad that people don't like. They're led by Stefan Petterhansel. So Petterhansel, the winningest driver in Dakar history, Mr. Dakar, will be back, but he's not competing for overall honours. He's going to be competing for class honours in a production Defender. The other people who are entered, well, they're well known in Rally Raid or alike in their own right. Rokas Bachuska, who has been a W2RC champion, and Sarah Price, who's well known on the Baja scene. When it comes to the trucks, you have Martin Maciek, Mitchell van der Brink, Ale Laprai, Martin Soltis, and Vaidotas Zala as the first entrants. And after that, the likes of Martin van den Brink, Richard de Groot, Teruhito Sugawara. Yeah, there's a lot of familiar names there as well. I don't believe there have been any changes from last year when it comes to the trucks that they're running either. So, for instance, you can expect that Maciek will be behind the wheel of one of the Ivecos, having switched across from a Praga, and the same for the likes of Mitchell van den Brink. Leprai is also with an Iveco, and when it comes to Soltis, I believe, is a Bugira Invictus, and so the first non-Iveco. Because, I mean, even when it comes to the likes of Zala, he's the Deroy Ivecos. So, expect a lot of Ivecos in the entry list here. We still do have the Hinos, the likes of Sugawara, though. We then have our last 2 categories. The Classics will be not necessarily measured in the same kind of way, because it's more like a classic rally where it's to do with the times that you get through the gates. Think regulation rally if you've ever played the Ace Wars WRC. There are some names that stand out on here, but what's important is also having a look at the cars. We've had, for example, Nissan, we've got a Nissan pickup as the 401 for the likes of Lorenzo Traglio. But we've had Citroën Duchevaux in the past that have made the distance. and classic Beetles. Of note for me is the number 719. Luciano Carcieri has Fabrizio Pons as his co-driver, and they're going to be aboard the Azusa. I believe that's the same one from last year. And then if you go further down the order, you got the number 900 for Nuno Miguel Bismarck dos Santos, Antonio dos Soito Lota, and Albert Casabona Villaseca, who are behind the wheel of a classic Mercedes. You then have the Mission 1000. What this is things to do with sustainable fueling or alternative fueling as well. So these run excerpts of some of the stages. You won't see them at all of the stages, but for instance, the leading one tends to be the Segways. As in, yes, that kind of Segway, but they're bikes instead. They make electric bikes. The lead seed in that one is the number 1000. That's Benjamin Pascal. There are alternatives as well. So, for example, when you look further down, the 1003, Jota Alvarez is behind the wheel of a Stark Future EX, which is, I believe, another one of the bikes. But you do still have a truck. The KH7 Ecology is still there this year. It popped up in previous editions. I think it's been in the last couple of them, as long as we've had the Mission 1000. Jordi Juventini is going to be the driver for that, navigator Jose Luis Criado, and mechanic Javier Ribas. I think that'll be that for this video, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching and joining. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to stay up to date with what's going on in the Dakar, then do be subscribed. I don't know how many daily updates I'll do. I'll probably either do daily updates or a couple of days, and the rest day will also get some coverage as well. As for ones to watch, it's very hard to predict for the Dakar. I reckon when we get to the rest day in Riyadh, we'll have a good idea for where the order's going to be. You'll find the people who've pushed a little bit too hard in the early stages will have damaged their vehicles or will have been forced to retire from damage. And those who've gotten stuck will become unstuck in the first of the marathon tests. If we don't have the order set by the rest day, I don't know when it will be. It could be that we end up with another one down to the wire like we did for Audi's win with the electric car. But thanks for watching, thanks for joining, and until next time, it's bye-bye for now.